Good morning and welcome to KidNuz. I'm Tori. Today is Tuesday, February 21st, 2023. And we begin with a super secret surprise visit by President Biden to Ukraine, specifically timed just ahead of the first anniversary of the war with Russia on Friday. On the president's public calendar this week was a trip to Poland to discuss the ongoing invasion. But only a handful of Mr. Biden's top aides knew that first he was making a high-stakes, high-risk visit to Ukraine's capital of Kyiv. In fact, the final decision wasn't made until last Friday. On arrival, the U.S. president met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in the heart of the capital, even as air raid sirens rang out. Mr. Biden pledged more U.S. support going forward, praised Mr. Zelensky's courage and leadership, and said he was honored to stand in solidarity and friendship with the freedom-loving people of Ukraine. The shaking continues along the Syria-Turkey border. Early yesterday, a powerful 6.3 magnitude quake hit exactly 2 weeks to the day that a pair of even bigger temblors brought the region to its knees. And while the cleanup is just getting started, miracles continue. On Saturday, a 12-year-old was rescued 12 full days after the original quake. It was an expensive oops at an art fair in Miami, Florida. Among the works on display was a sculpture that looked like a dog made out of shiny blue balloons by the famous artist Jeff Koons. The piece, valued at $42,000, was just over a foot tall and had been placed on a clear plastic stand. At the opening event Thursday night, an art collector accidentally bumped into the stand, causing the valuable artwork to fall to the ground where it smashed into tiny pieces. The unidentified woman apologized many times, but organizers of the event didn't seem too upset, telling CNN the sculpture was covered by insurance, and some collectors had even offered to buy the broken pieces. As a way to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the first Harry Potter book, the Royal Mint in Britain is releasing a special collector's series of 4 coins marked with important parts of the magical story. The latest one came out a few days ago. It's a 50-pence piece with a color image of Professor Dumbledore on one side and the new monarch, King Charles, on the other. The first 2 coins in the set, featuring Harry Potter's face and Hogwarts Express train, were released late last year. And they both include Queen Elizabeth on the opposite side, making them some of the last coins made with the late monarch's image. The final piece in the series will have an imprint of the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry and will be available to the public later this year. In other KidNuz notes, a 23-year-old woman has just set the record for the fastest solo row across the Atlantic Ocean. Miriam Payne started in the Canary Islands on December 10th, and 59 days, 16 hours, and 36 minutes later, she pulled into harbor in Antigua. The young Brit said the whole 3,000-mile journey was tough, but the last 8 to 10 miles were the hardest, telling the BBC, "It's that point where you know you're there and you've done it, but you just have to finish it off." 2 weeks ago, we told you about the world's oldest dog. Now we've learned of the world's oldest known living mouse. As of today, Pat is 9 years and 222 days old. He's a Pacific pocket mouse, the smallest kind in North America, and weighs about as much as 3 pennies. He's currently living at the San Diego Zoo, which is trying to revive this threatened species that used to be found all over Southern California. That's it for KidNuz. Now, today's quiz. President Biden made a super secret surprise visit to what country yesterday? Ukraine, to show support as the war with Russia nears its first anniversary. The expensive sculpture that broke at an art fair looked like what? A dog made of shiny blue balloons. Which Harry Potter character is on the new coin just released by the Royal Mint? Professor Dumbledore. How old is Pat the Pacific Pocket Mouse? 9 years and 222 days old. making him the world's oldest known living mouse. In our Kid News Kicker, today is Mardi Gras, which means Fat Tuesday in French, and it is celebrated around the globe with colorful parades, live music, glitzy beads, and lots of food. The biggest festival in the U.S. is always in New Orleans, thanks to French settlers in that region back in the 18th century. It's tradition to have a final day of indulgence before the Christian season of Lent begins, which happens tomorrow. That's usually a time of reflection and fasting, or maybe giving up a special treat for the 40 days until Easter. Before we go, we want to give a shout out to some of our terrific teachers, Mrs. Christmas and her Titans at North Pembroke Elementary in Pembroke, Massachusetts. Mrs. Akabwe and her Hawks at Ingalls Elementary in Kansas City, Missouri. Mrs. Pavlowski and her Lions at Lions Park Elementary in Mount Prospect, Illinois. In New Jersey, Mrs. Gear and her Bulldogs at Belleville Elementary in Belleville, and Mrs. Lang and Mrs. Duffy and their Hawks at Harding Elementary in Kenilworth. We'd also like to thank all our generous donors who help make it possible to fire up our microphones and keep the podcast free for everyone. You can make a tax-deductible donation by going to our website, kidnews.org, and click on the big blue donate button. Thanks for listening, and we hope you tune in for more Kid News tomorrow morning.